Thank you. Thank you. So moving from Creed 3 and still talking about it's funny how all these, topics kind of tie in. We're talking about OG shoes and OG movies. Now we're talking about the blowing up market as far as collecting, memorabilia, all that good stuff. One of the things I was going to say when you brought up sneakers, as far as how we're wearing them and how to think about them, I used to collect all sorts of stuff. I used to collect autographs. I used to collect sports cards. I used to collect G.I. Joe figures. Now, at my age, I decided if I can't wear it, if I can't use it, if it serves no purpose other than just having it, I am not going to keep it. That's just the way it is. I don't want to just clutter. I like minimalism. That's me. But there's so much out there to collect. So what's going on right now in the market, Will? Like, you're a big comic book guy, and I want to talk about that. But both of us love sports cards. NFTs are really big. What the heck has been going on in the collector market?
Yeah. So, when we were talking about topics, like I'm a huge comic book collector, and I've been that because, to be 100% honest, comic books taught me how to read. Like I was reading comics when I was 7, 8 years old. You start reading, a huge Batman guy. And I just kept the books, right? Like, I started to have such a love of the characters, and I kept the books, not knowing that, all these decades later, these books would be worth anything. But I have a huge collection. I still buy these books today, and I buy them for a different reason, because comic books have evolved from being what they were in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, which were, pretty light fare, pretty campy fare, Super Friends, that type of thing. There was not a lot of dark stuff. In the 90s and early 2000s, comic books turned dark. And the writing became very sophisticated, because what happened was they followed the age demographic of the people who were buying these comics. And the comic book prices were no longer 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents. Comic books became $3, $4, $5 for a book. And as they followed the maturity of the reader, the topics, the artwork, the themes, even the characters themselves shifted into this very dark adult genre of comics. And if you saw the latest Batman movie, that is a Batman Year 2 movie. And if you read the comics that kind of back that movie up, they're dark comic books, man. They're not for kids. So comics have evolved, and I think where you see the collector market going now on especially comic books, kudos to Marvel and kudos to Disney, because they introduced these characters, especially Marvel, who did a great job of bringing what I would consider mid-level characters, like a Doctor Strange or an Iron Man, Miss Marvel. Like those are not top, those are not Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, or Spider-Man, X-Men, that kind of stuff. They did a great job. People are now getting back into the looking at the old books, Eternals, like the Eternals. It turns out I went back and looked at my collection, and I had an Eternals #1. I was like, when did I ever buy this comic book? Because nobody knew who the Eternals were. And then Marvel makes a movie, with Guardians of the Galaxy and Eternals. So anyway, the movie going folks and the great job they've done with the movies have had people now looking backwards into where these characters come from, who created these characters. And they're all from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, man. So they're 80 years old. Like, some of these are 80 years old. And the books now have a real good value. And it's something that you physically have, right? The print runs back then were, 20,000 copies. So, if you have some rare book, it's going to be a collector's item for a long time.
That's incredible, man. I got to ask you, 2 questions come to my mind. Number one, how many comic books do you figure are in your collection? Ballpark.
In my collection?
Yes.
Oh, I probably easily have maybe 10,000.
Okay.
10 to 15,000. Yeah.
Do you catalog them?
I do. And actually I
like a spreadsheet?
Now there's software you can scan barcodes in, so it's pretty easy to do. And there's software there that will update your values as well. Okay. And today you can get your comics graded, right? And that's kind of how the market works now.
I was going to ask about that because I know in sports cards grading is really big, so they are big in comics as well.
Yeah, it's exactly the same concept.
Is it the same companies that are doing the grading for the comic books? Do you know?
There's really 2 big companies in the States that do all the grading.
Please, who are they?
One's Comic Book. Oh, geez, Comic Comic Book Grading Authority, and then the other, I can't remember the other one.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But only two. You know, you
Yes.
send your books in, you pay
Yes.
them a pretty much nominal cost. They take really good care of the book. They put it in the plastic. They give you a grade. And frankly, that's the way you sell your book, because collectors are now looking, is your comic graded?
Yes.
It's completely at that point legit. If you have a 9.0, you know,
Yes.
very fine comic, or you have a 6 point something, value shift. And it's not like you're going to a comic book show where, you know, the guys have the books in the plastic and you can't really tell, is there missing a page? Is it, you know, these comic book gradings are the way the market is working now, just like the cards, just like the
Yeah, but in
cards.
comics, how much do they charge on grading a comic book? Ballpark.
Yeah, it could be, you know, $20, $25, which is not cheap. So you're only going to send your top-notch books in.
Yeah, you're not saying a $2 book, right?
No, exactly. And again, you get volume discounts the more comics you sell.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Or send over, you know, if you send over a bunch, they'll give you a grading discount, and then you get your books back.
Because I was told sports cards can be much higher as far as what they're charging now, because there's just such a demand for it, and there's like a backlog of it. Do you ever get freaked out?
There's a huge backlog. Huge.
Do you ever get freaked out when you send them out as far as actually packaging them properly? And you know, it's funny, you know, you're sending it to get graded, but it gets damaged on the way to get graded.
You know, I got to give the grading companies like a lot of kudos. Like they treat the books like it's their own, and they have these. They send the packaging for you.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's not you just sending it in FedEx. Like the packaging is sent to you. It's put into a proper container. You know, it's a either a FedEx or a UPS that goes right to their facility. You kind of could track your book. Like, I mean, it's pretty sophisticated, and there's not a lot of, I guess, risk really when you send your book in.
That's nice. It's like shipping a kidney. You think like, whoa, they're like beat the clock. Like, this thing has to be taken care of. Yeah. Your most valuable comic book. Can you share it on the air? They don't have to tell us the value, but which one is it? What's your favorite?
I'm not sure which is my highest value, but I got a couple of really, like, some of my favorite books, right?
Yeah.
And they're the old stuff. They're like Silver Age, you know, which are, you know, back in the 70s, some Golden Age ones, which are back in the 60s and 50s. But, you know, for me, I'm a big first appearance guy, right?
Okay.
And first appearances, especially back in the 70s, where you had a lot of fringe characters, right? So for me, one of my best books is Hulk 181, which is the first appearance of Wolverine. And when Hulk 181 came out, and, you know, Wolverine, this character was there. Nobody cared because Wolverine came out in a Hulk comic book, and Wolverine is now one of those iconic characters. So everybody started looking for a Hulk 181, the first appearance. So that's one of my favorite books. Another one of my favorite books is, you know, first appearance of Punisher. And Punisher came out in a Spider-Man book. So he was like first appearance in a Spider-Man comic. And that's one of my favorite comics too. I have a range of Batman comics. Like I got pretty much every good Batman comic, except for, you know, the big ones, right? Like, you know, a Detective 27, which is the first appearance of Batman, or a Batman #1. Those you're paying $1 million, $2 million for. So out of my league. But, you know, I have some good old books. And I'm a collector where I don't need it to be in perfect condition. If I just have a copy, even if it's in terrible condition, I love it. Like I'll buy a book, you know, 1952. And look how old that is. I mean, 70 something years old. And just to have it in my collection, I feel good about it. So yeah, I love my old books, man. They're fun.
The way I missed out on my Jordan 1 Igloos and Rust Pinks, do you have a comic book that you're like, I could have had that one. I was right there as my fingertips, and I just didn't pull the trigger. I'm like, why did I not do that?
Yeah.
Which one's yours?
Mine is like an Iron Man #1. This was even before the Iron Man movies came out, before Marvel started making the movies. I had a chance to buy, I think, Iron Man #1. I think, you know, back then, again, Iron Man was this middle level.
Yeah, how much would that have been ballpark at the time?
Oh man, honestly, I think the guy wanted like $50 for the thing.
15 or 50?
50, like
50.
$50.
Big 50. Okay.
Big 50, and it's like, nah, it's Iron Man. Yeah, nobody wants Iron Man. Now how much? Like, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000 or more, like depending on the value. Like it's like a really good, like perfect Iron Man is expensive. It's expensive.
And it's only
I missed the boat. It's only going to go higher, man. Yeah, it's only going up because, again, limited print runs. There's, you know, the books are who knows where they get lost there. You know, look, some of the best finds in comic books, like Action Comics #1, Detective, which all came out in the 40s, right? Are in somebody's great grandpa's box that's down in the basement somewhere, man. And you know, they're moving, they're clearing out grandpa's, great grandpa's old shit. And boom, they turn up one of these books and it's a $2 million book.
Yep.
So, you know, keep looking through those basements and those estate sales. You never know what you get when you're looking, and that's where a lot of collectors get good stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now you and I both being lawyers and involved in the real estate market, we get asked all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's so hot. Is it ever going to crash? Is it going to correct itself? Blah, blah, blah. You know, as lawyers, we hear that nonstop every day. So in comic books, you know, in sports cars, apparently the correction is coming and is starting there. And in comics, they've been jumping a lot in the last couple of years because everybody's been collecting everything humanly possible because they can't travel. They can't go out to restaurants. They're just buying up stuff like no tomorrow, cars, watches. So tell me, my friend, how is the comic book market doing right now? And do you see any changes and shifts there?
I think the comic book market is in a bit of a revolution, and it's kind of a torn market because a lot of people are looking for the older stuff, right? That's the rare stuff, the first appearance stuff, all these characters that are being in movies now. You know, people are going back and looking for those books. Naturally, you know, if you know, all of the characters, they're still printing new like there's new books every single month that come out for, you know, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, you know, you name it. The new books are probably a lot less valuable. The print runs on those new books are not as what they were in the 90s when they just would print, you know, when Todd McFarlane was drawing Spider-Man. And he again reinvigorated Spider-Man. He was the top artist at the time. Marvel gave him Spider-Man to do, and they would print a bazillion copies of any Todd McFarlane book, right?
Right.
So they're valuable, but the print runs are so high that everybody's got a copy, right? So, you know, there's a market for the old stuff, and again, it's old dudes like me and you that have some disposable income.
Speak for yourself, bro. I'm getting younger. I don't know what you're talking about. Jeez.
Well, you know, listen, I want to say I don't feel old, so you know, but we're the guys that go back and buy the good old stuff.
Absolutely.
So that market is hot.
And that being said, one of the things you raised, because I ain't touching with a 10-foot pole, but I want to know if you're investing in them and NFTs. You involved at all, or what's the story there?
I'm learning more about it, man, and I think it's hilarious because, you know, you just talked about, you know, stuff, right? You're a minimalist, you know, if you know you don't buy stuff to collect anymore, you don't have physical stuff. And that's what NFTs are, right? NFTs are all about, hey, man, give me a blockchain secured digital something, and I'm going to pay money for it. And NFTs are kind of interesting because you can day trade in these things. You need to be on the whitelist to get, you know, to get in on one. Some, you know, and to be frank, if you're a sports card collector, you know, when they do a card that's, you know, 1 of 50. 1 of 200, 1 of 1,000. Those cards are worth a lot of money. Sure. And that's how they're doing NFTs, right? They're doing 1 of 50, 1 of 10, 1 of 1. And you're the only guy in the world that owns this digital blockchain secured NFT. It sits in your digital wallet. And some other guy is going to buy that from you for, you know, you pay 0.03 E for it. And some dude's going to pay a 1.3 E. And look, it's a whole different market, a whole different genre. I'm not sure I'm there on it yet, but look, I bought a bunch of NBA, and the NBA during the All-Star game had dropped a whole bunch of NBA NFTs, and they're cheap. They're $3, $5. They're, you know, when I say limited editions, they're like, you know, 60,000 NFTs. So if you get on them, you know, you buy a pack of these NFTs, you come 3 in a pack, you pay $20, and then, you know, you probably lose value immediately because they're trading for like $3 each. But yeah, it's like, hey, well, you know, it's $20. Let me buy a couple of these things. But, you know, it is the Wild West on that stuff. And if you're you can get in on some of them. Some of them are $2 million, man, $3 million. And then some of them, there's no market for. You buy it, nobody's buying it from you. So it's kind of like an ecosystem. Some of the guys that are releasing these NFTs, and mind you, everyone is going to be releasing NFTs. Nike, Major League Baseball, you name it, NFTs are coming. So wrap your head around what they are, whether they're going to be valuable or not, which are the ones that have a liquid market, which are the ones that you're going to just buy and never ever be able to sell again. Kind of like, you know, those old Don Ross cards that, you know, some fringe player that you're not going to, that's a 10-cent card.
Right.
It's the same way with NFTs.
I find it the funniest thing because I age myself when I talk to people and I talk to the millennials about NFTs and Bitcoin and all the digital money. And I said,
yeah,
so you're buying, it's like taking a picture with your phone, or it's like doing like a sketch on your iPhone. And here we go. There's this 101, me holding up a picture of my drink. Nobody else is going to have that picture, only you. So I'm going to give you a fake piece of memorabilia and I'm paid with fake money. So I'm going to create this thing called money. And I'm just going to say it's got value. And so I'm going to give you $1 of my fake money for $1 for your fake value memorabilia. And it's like, I'm wrapping my head around it. And I'm like, how is this not a Ponzi pyramid scheme? Because at the end of the day, eventually people are going to put real money to buy this electric money, to buy this electric memorabilia. And it's just the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, just go buy stocks in companies, you know, like you can own something real, or go buy those off-whites, please, you know, just go buy this. Like, this is way better. At least I can hold this and this is real, instead of, oh, I'll take a picture of my off-white UNCs.
There's going to be an NFT of that shoe. Don't worry. You can probably pick up the NFT of that shoe when Nike releases it.
There's an NFT of my specific UNCs and no one else is going to have it. And I want 10,000 Bitcoin. Like, you know, like it's just, again, it's like awesome. All the power to people that want to do that. I'm not taking any of, you know, after you pay taxes and everything, you're very little money left over, a lot of months, weeks, not putting it into that stuff. But for people who want to do it, by all means, good luck. Like when even I look at the pictures behind you, if you got like a great moment in sports and somebody autographed it, to me, there's something to that, you know, that's what I'm going to hang my hat on. But it's amazing where collecting has gone to that way, and they're looking for something, anything to crave, you know. So even cards, comic books, that's more where I would head personally. But you know, good luck to the collectors out there.
Yeah, good luck. I agree, and I think it's going to be, and we're in the middle of this, you know, for the last 10 years with Bitcoin, and now, you know, the way NFTs and the metaverse as that is evolving and unrolling. And frankly, we're on the cusp of a lot of new things. And frankly, it's going to be the way things are. Like there's a real legitimacy to, you know, crypto, to NFT. There's huge companies, huge industry based on this. It's not fully regulated yet. You know, you're a lawyer, you know, regulation is coming. And let's be real, it won't be long, you know, and frankly, the allure of crypto, you know, is the fact that it's been deregulated and it's not controlled by government. It's not managed behind the scenes where you pay transactional costs for this and that for that, and you don't understand where the value, you know, nothing's all, you know, there's not a gold standard anymore where everything was backed by gold sitting in Fort Knox somewhere, the US dollar, you know, that stuff is not there. This is real, and this is, you know, this is, get on board with this, because it's not going anywhere. This is where we will be transacting heavy duty in crypto. NFTs will be a thing. You'll be sitting with a virtual reality headset on for augmented reality or virtual reality to do your business meetings, to travel. That meta stuff is coming. It's already here.
Web 3.0.
Web 3.0. So honestly, saddle up, because the way you're going to do business is going to be very different 5 years from now.
I remember watching Avatar and saying, oh boy, this is where life is going to be headed. And that's exactly what it is. If you don't know what the heck we're talking about, go watch the movie Avatar, and that's what your life is going to be looking like. You know,
science fiction has become reality ever since Star Trek, and iPads and iPhones and streaming this and streaming that. You know, nobody, you know, when CDs came out, we're like, oh my God, we could buy a physical CD and move away from analog cassette tapes and stuff. And then we started streaming in terms of, you know, audio compression and video compression and lossless compression. And now we're going into a whole new world of human interaction and actual monetary economic value being digitized. Like we're here, man.
I have to apologize because the CDs. That was before my time, so not really sure what you're referring to exactly there, Will. But
Should I say Blu-rays then? Should I say were Blu-rays your time?
Thank you for enjoying today's episode of the Chosen Life podcast. Go ahead and hit the subscription button below and the notification bell to catch all of our great shows. And remember to contact the Chosen Lawyers when you are ready for your next real estate and commercial transaction. Go to kormans.ca.